Yo, what's good, YouTube? Today I got y'all 5 absolutely ridiculous loadouts. If you enjoyed today's video, let's break 200 likes, subscribe with notifications turned on, and let's get into it. All right, so hopping into it here, one of the first guns I want to break down is going to be the brand new ABR A1. This thing's actually really solid. In multiplayer, I'd say I'd prefer the full auto version, but in Warzone, I think the burst version is better. And let's kind of break down the setup for it. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go throw on an extended mag, which is gonna be extended mag 2. Absolutely love this thing. Gives us 60 rounds in the mag. Being that it is a burst, you probably, realistically speaking, could get away with running extended mag 1 just because it's shooting 3 rounds at a time, and you'd probably be fine with that. But overall, I think it's not like you're really feeling much slow, like you're not feeling like slowed down from this, so just go for extended mag 2. Underbarrel section, we're to keep this very standard, and that's going to be with the vertical foregrip. Absolutely zero reason to run any other foregrip or anything else in this, in the game right now for an AR other than the vertical foregrip. It's not like there is anything better. It's just you should use the vertical, and that is going to be the most effective thing to run. After that, in the barrel section, this right here, like when you're trying to figure out a barrel, what you got to do is you got to take a look at like your damage profile. So we can see our damage at effective range is 45.7 meters, which is honestly pretty solid. You can also see our damage distribution chart, which looks different from any other AR because it's getting 50 and 60 for those chest and upper headshots, or the headshot. Sorry, I just bumped my mic right there. But you're still at minimum getting like, 50, damage essentially for almost anywhere on the body, 45, 50 damage, which is really good. So with that being said, and our damage at effective range being 45 meters, we don't really have to go down here for the reinforced barrel, because you can see our bullet velocity is only at 1056, whereas the gain twist puts us at 1276, which is like gonna be a lot better for those distance shots. So having that great damage effective range, great damage profile, and a fast bullet velocity is a great way to make sure that your shots are going to be hitting, and they're going to be hitting hard. So recommend the gain twist on this gun, no doubt in my mind. Doesn't matter if you're playing battle royale, if you're playing Verdansk, you're playing rebirth, you want to use the gain twist here on this gun without a doubt in my mind. After that, in the muzzle section, this is where you could kind of have a little bit of fun with it. So I would say basically for everybody should go for the compensator. But I will say that if you are playing rebirth and you don't mind feeling a tad bit slower, the mono suppressor can be useful. Keep in mind your damage at effective range will go from 45 to 50, and your bullet velocity will go to 1531. So that's ridiculously fast, but you will have more of that burst, jump between bursts, which is not ideal, right? So we just don't really normally want to go for that. Even when I was running it, one of my gameplays, I just ran the compensator on it because I felt like that was the best option. Now, lastly, in the optic section, I know this does by default come with an optic, but we don't really like that optic. I'm just going to go in here and go for what I normally go for, which is the Volziski Reflex, and this works out fantastic on Rebirth Island. But if you want something that's a little bit better for range, I would say that even something like the Jason Armory 2X, the Willis 3 times, I even have seen people go down here, and I believe they use the Arcade Multi-Zoom, and they use the 3 times magnification on that. So I've seen some people kind of go back and forth and use different ones there. I don't have any of the other custom reticles, and I don't like the base one, so I don't really tend to go for that. I just say to go for the Willis, the Jason Armory, or any of these other red dots down here. You realistically can't go wrong, but this is going to be my choice. I'm going to go ahead and kind of build this thing out here, that blue reticle, as I really like that. I think it's super beneficial, and that right there is my full build. Next up is going to be a build here for the C9, undoubtedly pretty much like the number 1, number 2 SMG in the game right now. Of course, the LC10 is not it anymore after that Season 5 update, so we can get you guys a build here for this. So we're going to start off with the magazine. We're going to go in here, throw on extended mag 2. This is pretty standard. It is not changed. Like, this build is not going to be a heck of a lot different than what we've ran previously, so extended mag 2 is indeed the move. After that, on a barrel section, this is where you can have some variants to the build. I know some people like the vertical foregrip. I know people like myself prefer the Ranger foregrip. The vertical will help it, so of course, like when you're shooting, it's pretty easy to control the initial bit of recoil because it's really not much at all. But then after that extended duration of fire, it starts kind of jumping around, getting a little less controllable. So that's where people would probably feel more comfortable using the vertical, and you can use this exact same build and give you guys with the vertical or the Ranger, but my preference is the Ranger. At that barrel section, we're gonna go here and throw on the long barrel. One thing I really liked about the long barrel is that it actually does push us out very, very far. Damage at effective range is 18.2 meters, where I think in one of the previous seasons where they nerfed the C9, they, for whatever reason, always like to nerf it and then really buff it, bring it back up to the top, and maybe they nerf it a little bit again. This thing I think got down to about 15 meters of damage range with the long barrel, but now it's back up to like 18.2, which is crazy. So you definitely feel that, and you don't really need to go for anything else. Some people like to use the reinforced barrel because you can see it's got 16 meters, so it's only 2 meters less, and your bullet velocity is faster, right? But the downside is that, well, the range we're using it at, you don't feel the bullet velocity. Like, you really don't, because you're using it for the first target in the firing range, and just a little bit after that, that second dummy is where it's like, okay, you're like 25 meters. That's not really SMG range anymore. So you really aren't going to be using it out past that second dummy range. It's just not really viable. So use a long barrel. Don't worry about the bullet velocity because you aren't going to notice it. It's going to be hit scanned at the range you're going to be using it at. So moving on back here, we're going to go for the ergonomic grip. This is what I always go for. And by the way, this is like the paint splatter version of the gun. That's why I have this cool little paintball version down here. The paintball bundle is actually really solid for the Cypher and the C9. You can get essentially a meta loadout in that bundle for like 1,800 COD points. I don't like buying a lot of stuff from the shop, but you know, that's actually pretty decent, so we go for that. But the ergonomic is what I like on this gun. And then stock section, two options in here. You can go for the infiltrator, which is going to be perfectly fine. It also fits the exact build of the C9 from that bundle, or you can go down here and run the balance stock, which is going to be great, awesome sauce as well. Go for pretty much either or. You can't go wrong. Both of them are going to feel fantastic. I'm going to go for the balance stock here on this one. So that right there is my full C9 build. Next up, I'm going to give you all a build here on the GPR91. This is one of my favorite ARs to use right now in the game. Absolutely love using it. You can use a variety of ARs at the moment, which is pretty cool, but the GPR is the most consistent here, especially for rebirth. So magazine, we're gonna go through on extended mag 2. This is one of the only downsides to this gun, I believe, like at least in my opinion, is that I don't really like the reload speed on it. That's just kind of the annoying part. But the plus side is that this is a really effective AR for pretty much almost all ranges. Like, you can use this as sniper support, build it out of course differently, but it's really good for that close to medium range, and it's still good for longer distances as a primary AR. Under barrel section, keeping it standard. Vertical foregrip, like I said, use it on all the ARs. Barrel section, this is where you can kind of differentiate it up. If you're playing big map, I'd recommend for the gain twist barrel. If you're playing rebirth, go for the reinforced barrel, but keep in mind the gain twist is still perfectly fine, or the reinforced is still perfectly fine for rebirth island. But big map, you want to stick with the gain twist because that bullet velocity, which is up there above my face cam, is something that you guys really want to take note of. It does matter when you get down to like 1,000. That's not that good for Dansk, but for rebirth, perfectly fine, because you're not shooting people like ridiculously far distances where you're gonna feel like you need the extra 200, but on big map you definitely feel like you need that. So go for that, make your shots hit harder, faster. That's really gonna be about that. But this is a rebirth build, so we're gonna choose the reinforced. Muzzle section, we're gonna of course choose the compensator here. This is pretty standard. You guys definitely want to go choose the compensator on this gun. Highly recommend it. And then lastly, we have a couple options in here, but I'll show you guys a real standard thing to do, which is going to be throwing an optic of your choice. Pretty same to all the other ARs. Pull this 3 times, Jason Armory, or any of the other red dots. I like to go for actually just kind of like Volziski. Of course, I throw in the blue dot, and you guys can do it exactly like that, or you can even take off this. You can have a little bit of extra fun with it and go for the fire mods and maybe throw on like the overpressured rounds. So that way your bullet velocity is 1,200 meters and you have the big boost at effective damage range. The iron sights are easy enough to see through. So for rebirth, you can have some fun with that. Like, you can for real have some fun. It's pretty cool. But otherwise, you should just definitely go for a red dot sight and you'll be able to call it a day. So slap that bad boy on there and there's your build. Next up, the Ladra. So the Ladra and the C9 are essentially your top 2 in the entire game. And this is going to be my favorite build to go for. So of course, first thing, mag. We're going to go extended mag 2 here. This is one gun where you can actually use extended mag 1 because 55 rounds in a magazine is fantastic kind of as is. So if you want to be a little bit faster, there's no sense in like feeling like ashamed of only using extended mag 1 versus 2. 66 rounds is awesome, and I prefer to go for it because I'm normally speaking playing solo quads. But even in solo quads, I still find using extended mag 1 acceptable. So kind of use whatever you want right there. Just test it out in the firing range, move around a little bit, slide, cancel, do your thing and see what works best for you. But the rest of the build's gonna work fine with either or. Underbarrel section, you guys want to go for the Ranger foregrip. I don't believe this to be a gun that benefits from the G grip or the vertical grip. Honestly, the vertical grip is one of those, grips where if you have trouble with recoil in the game, right, then obviously that is okay. And there's different skill levels of players out there. So you can choose something that makes the gun easier for you to control. Also, keep in mind that if you struggle to control recoil, to hit your shots, you might not have good settings. And I have a settings video on the channel more recently that I recommend for people to check out. So use either the vertical or the Ranger. I go for the Ranger, but I'm serious though. I'd be having like top tier settings. So you guys definitely should be watching my settings videos. The barrel section though, we're gonna go for the long barrel. This is the same case as the C9. It's like, you're not using this for anything far distance. Like you're using this for pretty close range, like in buildings, tight corridors. You're not running around this out in the open other than to increase your sprint speed. You're immediately swapping back over to your AR. Obviously when someone comes at distance, you're using this just to get around faster, be quicker, and have good close range capabilities. We don't care about extending out, our bullet velocity to take people out at distances, as that is not beneficial with this gun at all. Like you do not want to do that. This is a close quarters gun exclusively. So run the long barrel and that is it. Rear grip, ergonomic grip here as per usual. This is what I go for on every single SMG. It's just the best thing in here. And then the stock section, pretty standard as well. Infiltrator stock or the balance stock, totally up to you guys. So balance, infiltrator, use what you want. I'll choose the balance, and this right here is the full build. Last but not least, I want to give you guys a build here for the FJX Imperium. I'm sure everybody knows and hopefully loves the FJX. This also sounds a lot like the Intervention, which is pretty cool, from OG MW2, not the trash MW2 that it was a part of the game of. So let's get you guys the build for. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go in here and throw on something that's going to increase out our damage range, which is going to be for us the very first suppressor in here, the VT7 Spiritfire Suppressor L. So that basically just means long, large, whatever you want to call it, doesn't really matter. Basically, we're just going to go for the large version of the suppressor. Any of these suppressors that they're all going to do the same thing because they dumbed them all down. You could even look through the detailed statistics on them. They are going to do the same thing. Just keep in mind, obviously, the Demon Helix is not going to do the same thing as the mono suppressor. You might get, I don't know, slight bit more here on the damage range, but also you're not getting any bullet velocity. So 76 to 78.8, but you don't get any bullet velocity, which is obviously not ideal. So you're just going to go for this. So just go for that. Barrel section, what you guys want to go for is the Fahrenheit 29 first one in here. It is the best, most optimized barrel for this gun. Damage range, bullet velocity, firing aim stability, and I guess hipfire accuracy. If you want to barrel stuff somebody, it's pretty cool, but I don't really recommend doing that. It has happened to me before, but the amount of times people miss their shot when trying to do that versus actually hit you, kind of high. So keep that in mind. I don't recommend barrel stuffing somebody. Not ideal. Magazine, actually I take that back. We're not going to the magazine. We're going way back here to the stock section. We're going to throw on this FJX Kilo Tac, which is going to help us out here. Just kind of be a little bit more agile, more mobile. You guys don't have to worry about using any other type of scope on this gun because the base scope is beautiful and there's no reason to kind of correct it or change it for something. It's like we're just losing out on prime attachments otherwise. So we're just going to go for the Kilo Tac. Laser section, we're going to go throw on the Kimura RYL33 laser light. Yes, you can see this when you're aiming at somebody, or someone can see it when you're aiming. That's perfectly fine. By the time they probably see it, they're most likely going to be dead, down. You're going to pop a shot off at them, and they're probably going to know where you're coming from anyways. This is definitely more of an aggressive sniper rifle, not something I'd really recommend using on Verdansk a whole lot. There are better snipers to use for super ridiculous ranges, like the HDR, even though they technically nerfed the bullet velocity on it once again. I don't really know how I feel about that. It's it was never really a problem, so I don't really know why they nerfed it, but it is what it is. So slap that on there, and then lastly, we're going to go here, and we're going to be going to use the 408 high velocity rounds, not to be confused with anything else in here. Want to go for the high velocity because it increases at your bullet velocity, which is awesome. You can see your damage at effective range is 100 meters. That's incredible, right? That means that is your one-shot headshot range, and then of course your bullet velocity is 1358. So you're going to be for real downing people like it is slight work. Slap that on there. That's your full build. That's my top 5. You guys enjoyed it? Give it a like, subscribe, check out this other video on screen, and I'll see you all next time.